Hi everybody, you may be aware from my previous video that I'm having difficulty with this board. In particular, this little guy here, which is a QFN package, and you can see it there sitting under a nice blob of congealed flux. And frankly, I'm pretty sure that it's not the chip's fault. It's the board, it's my soldering, it's something crazy going on. So I've had to face some facts and think that maybe my eyesight isn't once what it was, because I'm finding myself to have to hold paper, you know, like this when I'm reading it, and sometimes take it away from my face, like I've seen basically old people doing. And I have these. I mean, lots of us have these particularly kind of lame Zoom headset things. I say Zoom headset. They're basically magnifying glasses that you're supposed to wear on your head. They're from Chicago, Illinois by Nuo Plastics, and they are terrible. They just fall off your head. I mean, I don't even know how this is supposed to work. I'm guessing it's supposed to tighten it. It's just naff. In fact, maybe it's supposed to be like this, and if I'd run them like that, oh yeah, maybe I should have just done that. Anyway, they are still naff anyway, and they never work for me. I mean, comments down below if you've got a pair and you get on with them. So I went on the Amazon. There's a whole bunch of these by these sort of companies that you've not really heard of, but I'll give it a go. And it's called an Andonstar. There's actually an A here that we can't see again. Printing issues. And this is their AD208 for £149. So it's not like particularly cheap, but if you know the cost of electronics, microscopes, you know, for actual microelectronics, they're crazy expensive. So this is kind of cheap because it's hobbyist. And what caught my eye is that it says 8.5-inch screen. So that screen is probably bigger than it looks. And you can capture the images, you can adjust the LED lights, and the microscope looks very much like those USB microscopes we had that you plug in and plug it into your Windows webcam type software. That were actually okay, but you know, you've got to be very careful. As you hold them with your hand, they jitter around. And they have lots of different models here, and there's different makes. And to be honest with you, the main features between them aren't too different, apart from maybe you could get one with a remote control. Who needs a remote control? It's sitting in front of you. Anyway, cut a long story short, I got it. I got it. I decided that my time is worth more than the £140. There it is. It's made in China, but interesting enough, on the box here on the label, Andonstar AD208, but it says repair and SMT SMD soldering. So they kind of are saying that you can solder under it. And I was a bit worried that maybe soldering wouldn't be the best thing to do because you might knacker it out, you know, all the solder fumes. So you even have a manual, which looks quite good actually. Oh, it's got multiple languages. Is it actually? Hang on. Should get some moisturiser on these old fingers. It's getting winter time now. Oh yes, we do have English. So there is an English section, and I'm going to just ignore it though, because I don't think we should need a manual for something this simple. Ah, and there it is. Now look at that. Like I was saying, 8.5-inch screen seems to be a lot bigger than most people would expect. Because I've got these sorts of screens for various camera work, and they tend to be quite small, but this is a bit of a monster, and that's what I need because I you know, again, failing eyesight, just there is a hand for reference, so that's quite good size. Let's turn it over. Ooh, and that is the microscope itself with the LEDs in there and the lens, and that actually feels pretty good. I'm very that's quite convincing. You have a micro TF card slot there, a micro USB just there, and it appears to be 3 buttons or LEDs, who knows. Tell you what, let's just carry on. We've got a rechargeable cell, which is the 18650, which is absolutely great. So that means we can use it without having it tethered, which is going to be great. So I'll pop that in. Hopefully I haven't jumped the gun doing that. A little toolkit. It looks like a bracket. I'm just going to remove everything from the packaging as we go along. Nicely anodized, actually. Good. I mean, that's not bad for the price, is it? I mean, already we're looking at it's probably not something you're going to use in a lab, but that is a nice anodized bit of metal there. Let's take this out and just get the last gubbins. Oh, that's quite a heavy base, as you would expect, actually. And there's the wires and whatnot, so we can throw everything else aside. Throw it all asunder. And I don't know if we can do a comparison with this later, but maybe we can. And it looks like you have a little power connector there for these lights. You've got some nice flexible illumination again, which is really important. If you're using a microscope for these microelectronics, the problem you have is light, because just depending on how the light's hitting that PCB, it can obfuscate or reveal the tiny defects that you're actually trying to look for. And sometimes if you really squint with your eyes, you'll see things in the reality that look totally different than what you're seeing in the microscope. So you have to be able to adjust the light correctly. Again, very hard to show you, but we'll try. So I think the first things first is to just mount this. I'm just going to guess it's going to go like that. And yeah, just do this. Don't read the instructions. You don't need to. Your only option on this is you might put it on the wrong way around. So I'm hoping we're not putting it on the wrong way around. And that's the other thing, by the way, if you look at the other models on Amazon or wherever you're looking, you know, other microscopes are available, is the level of articulation that you're going to get. Because some have more degrees. And I have to admit, there was a model that had more, and I was tempted, but I didn't think it was worth, you know, twice as much. And it's one of those things I think I could always live with or make or adapt something myself. Now, I did mention before that some actually did come with a... his brain is crashing. Did come with a... oh, bugger. A remote control. How did I forget that? I don't know. Do you ever forget words? It's the end of a long day. Just don't. Oh, see, you can't talk. Forget about it. Right. Yeah, they do come with a remote control, and I'm not entirely convinced that you're going to use that. So, yeah, this one does have a little bit of a remote control on the wire, which looks like it's going to control the lighting. I suppose you might be able to have, it could probably be, if they come with a remote control, it's because the screen module was used as a generic monitor, you know, like something that you're going to use for your cameras and things like that if you're doing video recording. So they probably just chucked in the remote control with it. I mean, for all I know, I mean, this thing does look here like it has an IR receiving window on it. So it might be just the same screen without the remote control. So I might have a quick look through the packet, but I'm pretty sure there isn't one. But I do have a whole number of these, so I'll just see if the generic one works. You might just be able to do the functions that you'd normally activate on the buttons on that with the remote. Right, enough blathering. That's the two clips in there. Now, I fitted them, but I'm not sure if I'm going to really use them, but that's the idea. You see, they just hold your workpiece. If you've got a nice flat workpiece, that's even better. But you can see here, this one will be at an angle because there's components on both sides, but that's pretty good. They always are jumping around. I mean, I would probably find this just as useful to hold the piece while I'm soldering it. I mean, considering that you can probably, there's a big nut here actually. If you loosen this nut, you can probably just tilt this whole assembly back out the way and just use it as a soldering bed. But I digest. Let's continue. So it appears that everything is secured against this collet that's on the microscope itself. So it's not the screen, isn't actually attached to the bracket, it's all the microscope parts you can see there. So I'm going to pull that through, loosening all this up, and I think that's pretty much it. I'm just going to tighten that. I don't know, I'm just going to check. Yeah, if you tighten these, that collet does tighten on there, so you can just adjust it to the angle that you like, which I'm going to do now. Andonstar. I don't know where they choose all these names though on the Amazon listings for these things. They always seem to be a little bit random, don't they? And we have to undo this crazy Y wire. So this wire looks like it's got a micro USB for the screen component, a little remote control for the lights, and it just plugs straight into USB. And I do like this connector. It's one of those 90-degree ones, so that is actually quite welcome. Good job. Good job, guys. Let's plug that in there. So far, so good. And I actually do have a USB power supply. Just set that up all the time. Now it is on. I can see the lights came on as I shoved that in. So this is going to be interesting, and I'm going to figure out how to actually share the video with you. But you can see underneath, those are the lights, okay? And I'm going to use this remote control to off, on, yeah, off, on, and brightness. So let's see if we do minus, minus, minus. Yes, minus, minus, minus. And you can see the screen actually did say welcome. So that actually turns off the whole thing, including the screen. So this is a main power. Now if I push the power on the screen, it doesn't do anything. So this is like a master power thing, which is fine. So I'm going to put that back to on. Okay, we're on. It's going to boot up. Now I'm going to change these down so they're pointing. How do I show you that? See, I've got them here pointing at the workpiece. That's probably all you need to see, really. Just trust me on that. I've got it pointing at the workpiece, and I'm shining it directly over the component that I'm interested in. And now I'm going to turn this monitor up. And I'll turn off the lights in the back office. Maybe we can all see that. Okay, so it does have a movable up and down gantry here, and you can see it going up and down. So we need to figure out some of these settings because there's a few adjustments. So on these microscopes, as you twist them, and you can see there it's twisting it in and out of focus. You've got that, and that's your sort of small detail. But then if you do the whole thing up and down, yeah, it's going to be much bigger steps. So we need to figure out. Oh, and it's actually started to hit the screen there. So yeah, you probably want to be a bit careful. So let's leave it there for now. I'm going to move this around. Ah, there it is. Oh, the clip now is in the wrong place. Yeah, there we go. Let's get that there. And then I'm going to twist this. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty bloody good, isn't it? I mean, already, I'm going to make it a little bit brighter. Let's see what happens if we increase the brightness. There we are. And I'm going to turn my soldering iron on so we can have a little go at soldering while we're under here. I mean, I'm not going to do it properly. Obviously, we're going to make a big mess of this board. But we know we're going to rework it anyway. So the iron is pretty much hot now. Yeah, I can definitely get in there. Oops, try not to move things around too much. But look how big the tip of the soldering iron is now compared to that. Look at that there. Amazing. But that is definitely the way to go, isn't it? I can very clearly see what I'm up to. The only downside is, now if I want to solder this row, I'd normally twist the board, but the board's locked in it. But this thing's so light, look, I can just twist the whole thing. It's not even a problem, is it? I could just twist the whole thing and then just, again, work on them. Now, normally, I would just do this whole row at once, like that, look. See? Jobs are good, and I think that looks pretty good. I was worried about this board, but I think it is pretty well soldered. And I can see here, you see this top corner right there, that's actually what it's supposed to be. That's how it is in the design. So that's good. Right, now let's see what else we can do with this thing. I mean, I'm going to keep twisting this knob because some of them have broader zoom level. I think it doesn't. I mean, so if you get the ones for your bench top, like the handheld microscopes, they can do like a bazillion degree zoom. I mean, we didn't actually check the manual to see exactly what this one said it could do. Does it actually even mention the zoom? Probably not. Oh yeah, no, there is something here. Okay, 5 to 260 times zoom. So it sounds to me like we should be able to get more zoom if we can get this actually closer. And I'm going to have to tilt this to try that. So let's... don't worry, I will orientate this screen so you can have a better view in it in a second. But now I am getting in there. Oh yeah, I think we can, you know. Right. How to show you. Let's I'm going to lock the screen off there. Oh! Now hopefully you can just about see that if I adjust these. But that is a much closer zoom, and let me just give us a bit more play because you can actually see there just about that there are, let's turn it this way, yeah, you can see that there are actually parallax effects happening where I can just adjust it now. So actually that's looking at the top of the chip, then as I turn this you can see now that's looking at the pad. So you've got adjustment between there and there, which is absolutely crazy. And I'm going to try to just get the soldering iron in without damaging the lens because it's pretty close at this point. But that gives you an idea of the size you're working at. Whew, pretty good. Now I know it's very hard for you at home to discern this, and the screen actually still has its screen protector on, which I will leave because I think it's a good idea on these. But the quality of the image is absolutely spectacular. It says it's a 1080 screen, and boy do I believe it. It is absolutely gorgeous. And I have noticed here in this little icon here in the corner, shows you the SD card is in. I just popped it in and it's actually charging. And there is a volume thing here because I suspect it probably can record your... Oh, I forgot. It can record your voice. I'm sure it has a video mode, which we're going to check now. But something here, this knob on the bottom, you heard me ejaculate orally. Oh, hooray! He ejaculated because you have this additional light that is in the lens itself. So you have a light in the actual lens. So remember before I was saying about having the right lighting conditions, sometimes you may well want to turn off the lights that are actually shining on those little arms. You can see there I've turned them off completely. And then you'll get a slightly different effect with the light on the board, which might be better for what you're trying to look at. So you don't want to necessarily flood it too much with light, because you can imagine it's going to wind that exposure right down and it could flush out some stuff. In fact, that's the onboard light and it's looking really good. Yeah, sorry, I do apologise. I do forget you're in the glare. And let's have a look at this menu then, shall we? Oh! So I've hit the M button, it's gone to 12M, so I'm guessing that's saying 12 megapixel. No file, no card. Oh, it's probably one of those. Oh, the SD card has an error by it. It is one of the ones I just picked up off the counter. Let me go see if I've got a more reliable one. I had a bit of a play with it after I'd actually formatted that TF card or micro SD card on the PC. It did have some junk on it, so I think its folder structure probably just confused this one. But what I have noticed with here, it's not totally intuitive, but maybe after I read the manual, if you're in regular mode, so you can see I can move my fingers about underneath here. If I press OK, it actually starts recording, and it does imply it's recording audio, which could be useful. I mean, there's a little audio icon here in the corner. I don't see a microphone, but maybe there is. We'll figure out once we plug it into the PC. But this is actually pretty good. So you'd be able to record live subjects if it's something biological or something moving around, or your process of soldering it. You know, you could actually record your rework process and then send that to somebody. And while it's recording, if you press the camera button, it does actually record the still image. It takes a snap, which is really cool. And then you press the OK button to stop it. And then if you go to this M button here, you go back through these various playbacks. So you can select up and down. In fact, hang on, I'm in that M mode now. Let's see, there we go. And you can see I press the M again and then I go through, I think it's a menu basically. You can see there's various still images, one of my fingernail looking through it. There's some video files and things like that. So that's absolutely fantastic to learn and figure out how that all works if you need it. I mean, again, it's not something you need a lot, but if you do have customers or clients that you need to send things to, that could be really, really useful. Something else I noticed while I was just operating it regularly, if you press the up and down, it actually has a digital zoom as well. So if you want to just get that little bit extra out of it to try to discern some detail, you certainly can. And there is an adjustment on the base to adjust that tilt if you can get in there with a spanner. I think it's set particularly hard from a factory, but you should be able to get this to work at an angle, which could be better for give you a better range of motion. So you can see potentially there's actually a little bit of a blob, which I've only just noticed. It looks okay to the human eye, but you can see that would be a short generally, but you can go in there, fix that. Yeah, maybe that was the problem all along. Who knows? So there's another thing in the book where it says that if you are in the this one of these modes, if you hold down the menu, there we go. We've hold down the menu button. It actually does bring about a more detailed menu, which I'm going to have a look at. And this is a bit weird because I have to actually look through the camera. Date, time. That's going to be really useful to have all your videos stamped, and of course it has that battery inbuilt, so it's going to remember those. Language, yeah, we'll leave it in English. 50 Hertz is fine, but yeah, you can adjust that if you're experiencing any issues with flickering. Format your SD card. In fact, that's probably what I should have done when I plugged the card in the unit first time. Reset everything to defaults, and here is your software version. Now, oh, I pressed M again just to see what would happen, and it went out of that. Oh, there's another menu actually here. Look, resolution. So we're in 1080 FHD, which is 1920 by 1080, but you've also got 1080p and 720p. I think when we went into the record mode, it looked like it might switch it into one of the other modes. So I'm not entirely sure if it's recording in FHD or if it's recording in 1080p. Again, probably doesn't matter too much when you're zoomed in that high. Loop recording is great, so that's a bit like a dash cam, so it'll split it up into 1-minute files if you've got it running continuously. And potentially it will keep going over and over, so you could leave this on all day, I guess, in case anything happens and you want to come and revisit that. You do have an exposure setting, which could be useful, again, depending on what you're trying to record and your lighting conditions. You can record the audio, which is definitely useful. Let's leave that on because it'd be like, look at me, I'm observing the soldering, and then I could cut that into some video. And then you've got the date stamp, which of course you're going to want on. So yeah, absolutely a nice little bit of kit here. And look at that fingernail action. The question you're of course all asking though, is it worth the £150? And to me, I would say absolutely. Any day of the week. If you're doing surface mount work and you're especially getting into some difficulties, I mean, I've got two copies of the board. They're exactly the same board, and you can see the component here on the left. I'm going to show you what it looks like through this, and I'm going to like eyeball it up to get you the best effect. But look at that. Yeah. Doesn't even compare. If you're going to struggle with something and you value your time, you know, I've probably wasted 2 days, 3 days maybe on this project. That will have eclipsed the cost in waste time from getting this right away. I'm definitely going to go in now and revisit all of these boards and just check if that was the issue, and I will have happily paid way more than £150 for this if I knew it would have solved the issue right away. So yeah, go on board. I'll drop some links down below if you are interested. They do have a range. And oh, sorry, I'm just marveling over this inbuilt light. Remember I was saying this adjustment here? If you do get one, play with the lighting conditions and try them all just to see exactly what works best for your piece. And you know, that's me without even having adjusted the zoom properly. So once you're in there and you set your major zoom, you just twist the ring a little bit just to get that last bit of focus. Gorgeous. Very pleased indeed. Please feel free to come and chat to me in my Discord if you want any more advice, or comment down below. Hopefully that's been of some use to you, and as ever,